I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. Start in complete darkness. Now, slowly reveal the hidden life teeming just beneath the surface of the water. Picture microscopic organisms drifting gracefully through illuminated currents. Visualize the vibrant, bustling architecture of coral reefs, the rushing energy of freshwater streams, the dense, tangled roots of coastal wetlands, and the silent, crushing depths of the deep sea. What if I told you the most important animals on Earth were also the ones most people never even notice?
Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine the tiny, almost alien creatures crawling quietly beneath the slick rocks of a stream, or the ones buried deep inside the thick, dark mud of a riverbed. You know, these are the unsung heroes of our planet's aquatic environments. They don't have the roaring majesty of a great white shark or the playful charm of a dolphin, right? They are almost entirely invisible to the casual observer walking along a riverbank. Yet, they are literally the foundational architects of life as we know it.
To truly understand their dominance, you really have to wrap your head around this absolutely staggering reality. Greater than 98% of all known animal species on our planet are invertebrates. 98%! If you were to take a census of the entire animal kingdom, the vast, overwhelming majority of it is completely spineless. Studying them isn't just some niche scientific pursuit. It's absolutely crucial if we want to understand how our world actually functions.
So let's set our scientific baseline in Section 1, the invisible animal majority.
The definition here is beautifully clean and simple. Aquatic simply means an animal that lives in the water. Invertebrate means an animal lacking a spine or a backbone. But here's the thing. Despite lacking this central structural pillar that we mammals rely on so heavily, they have evolved incredible, wildly diverse, and highly successful body plans that allow them to thrive in virtually every single water-based environment on Earth.
Take a look at this graphic. Notice that tiny sliver of blue at the bottom containing the lizard? That tiny slice represents all the vertebrates. We're talking mammals, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and birds. Every single other piece of that massive yellow pie belongs to insects and other spineless creatures. With over 740,000 identified insect species alone, the sheer volume and diversity of invertebrates completely dwarfs the animals we usually think of when we hear the word wildlife.
Which brings us to Section 2, the 6 major phyla.
These are the 6 major evolutionary branches that organize this sprawling biological family tree. First, we have Porifera, the ancient sponges silently filtering the ocean currents. Then, Cnidaria, which includes stunning jellyfish and the complex corals building vast reefs. Mollusca brings us the heavy armor of snails and clams alongside the incredible problem-solving intelligence of the octopus. Annelida are the segmented worms tirelessly turning over rich sediment. Arthropods, those are the armored biological tanks like crabs and shrimp. And finally, Echinodermata, the sea stars and urchins gripping the ocean floor.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer physical complexity when you actually zoom in on a striking macro example like this arthropod here. I mean, look at the intricate jointed appendages. Look at those highly sensitive antennae reaching out to read the water currents, and that specialized exoskeleton acting as a remarkably durable suit of armor. This isn't just a simple, primitive organism, it's a highly evolved, perfectly adapted survival machine, forged by millions of years of evolution.
Let's move on to why this all matters in Section 3, ecosystems on their shoulders.
Observe how this vital role builds the very foundation of the trophic pyramid. Down in the green base, you have algae and detritus. Right above that, the macroinvertebrates, our primary consumers. They are the essential middlemen of the natural world. By feeding on the algae and decaying plant matter, they convert that raw energy into biological mass. They become the critical prey for small fish, which are eaten by larger fish, which are then hunted by top predators, like that osprey you see at the pinnacle. Without the invertebrates holding up the bottom, the entire pyramid just starves and collapses. But they do so much more than just act as fish food. These creatures are the relentless, invisible engines of organic material and nutrient recycling. Every single dead leaf that falls into a rushing stream, every piece of organic waste settling in a coastal estuary, it's all methodically broken down and processed by these detritivores. They act as nature's ultimate recycling plant, returning vital, life-giving nutrients back into the ecosystem to sustain continuous biological growth. Actually, they don't just live in the water, they actively engineer it. Consider this absolutely incredible ecological service. Bivalves like oysters and mussels literally filter the water as they breathe and feed.
They draw murky, particle-filled water across their complex gills, trap the suspended sediment and algae, and push out crystal-clear water. They single-handedly improve water clarity and significantly reduce pollutants. It's a massive natural purification service that directly benefits human populations and coastal economies alike.
Because they are so intimately connected to the water they inhabit, aquatic invertebrates possess another remarkable, incredibly practical function for us. They act as bioindicators. Because they're highly sensitive to poor water quality and the subtle impacts of human pollution, they serve as nature's built-in biological alarm system, warning us the moment an environment is in distress.
And this brilliantly illustrates how that biological alarm system functions in the real world. On the far left, in the good water, you see a rich, diverse community of highly sensitive insects, things like stoneflies, mayflies, and caddisflies, just thriving among the oxygen-rich rocks. Move to the middle, the intermediate zone, and biological diversity drops fast. Only somewhat tolerant species survive as the water quality degrades. Finally, on the right, in bad water, those sensitive species are completely wiped out, leaving only highly tolerant organisms like certain worms and snails. By simply cataloging which invertebrates are present in a stream, scientists can immediately decode the health and ecological stability of that entire waterway.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, Habitats, from streams to oceans. Basically, anywhere there is water, you will find aquatic insects navigating their environments. They have managed to conquer every available ecological niche. Some are powerful swimmers, darting right through the open water column, while others possess highly specialized morphology for clinging tightly to the slick surfaces of fast-flowing river rocks. You'll find them lurking near submerged, tangled tree roots, or hiding out in dense mats of rotting vegetation where food and shelter are abundant. We also have to look down into the benthic zones, the very bottom of the aquatic world. Millions of these creatures spend their entire life cycles burrowing deep into the mud and sand. Whether it's the silty bottom of a slow-moving river, the deep, quiet sediment of a freshwater lake, or the vast, highly pressurized expanses of the ocean floor, invertebrates have entirely mastered the art of living within the substrate itself. But make no mistake, existing in these dynamic environments is not some peaceful, easy existence. It's a constant, rigorous battle against physical extremes. In highly productive environments like estuaries, where rivers meet the sea, these organisms have to endure wildly varying temperatures, constantly fluctuating salinity as fresh runoff clashes with the salty tide, drastic plummets in dissolved oxygen, and the complete lack of constant ion concentrations. It is a harsh, unforgiving world that demands extreme biological resilience.
So, how do they survive these rapidly changing and, honestly, sometimes deadly conditions? Well, one of their most vital behavioral adaptations is migration. When the concentration of dissolved oxygen drops markedly, or when local conditions become toxic, many of these creatures don't just wait around to die. They mobilize. They actively migrate upward through the water column or traverse along the substrate to reach regions of higher oxygen and stability. They are highly dynamic, responsive survivors.
Let's bring this all together in our final segment. Section 5, the invisible lifeline.
Stepping back to look at the massive unseen picture here in this explainer, we've seen how they form the foundational base of the global food web, how they meticulously purify the water we rely on, and how their very presence acts as a vital diagnostic tool for the health of our planet. Without these tiny, spineless creatures, the food webs would completely shatter. Nutrient cycles would freeze, water quality would plummet, and entire aquatic ecosystems would simply collapse. They are, quite literally, the invisible lifeline of the natural world. So my question to you is this. The next time you gaze out over a rushing river, a quiet lake, or the vast crashing ocean, will you look past the surface and remember the invisible majority that is tirelessly keeping it all alive?